Hey, you guys are back. This is me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Rajshri Food. Well, Dal Chawal is something. To me, I travel across the globe, and that's something that I miss the most. Well, I want to know in the comment section below what Dal Chawal means to you. To me, it's memory, it's nostalgia, it's something that I miss, I crave, I love. It's comfort food, and most of the time, it's not feeling homesick. It's feeling Dal Chawal sick. Well, today you've guessed by now, I'm making Dal Chawal, and it's not just Dal Chawal, I'm making Dal and Jeera rice, because to me, that's ultimate. Let's begin. First things first, to make the dal is, of course, you need to choose the correct quality of dal and also the correct variety of dal. Well, you get numerous varieties. You get moong dal, chana dal, arhar dal, urad dal, lots of other dals. What I'm using for a classic dal, call it dal tadka, call it dal fry. This is arhar ki dal or tur ki dal or pigeon lentils. These need to be washed at least twice, thrice over. Once all the cloudy water becomes nice and transparent, that's where you soak it again for 20 minutes. Next is to add in a little bit of salt, a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric to begin with. Well, this is for that nice vibrant yellow color. And with this, salt. Now, there are societies that would profess that salt need not be added in dal. The dal kind of remains a bite raw and things like that. Well, to each house their own. If you are the ones who add salt, add it. If you are the ones who do not add it, avoid it. Simple. The next is to add in at least 2 times water. So if you've taken like a cup of the dal, you add in at least 2 times of water or 2 cups of water. This needs to be covered. The flame needs to be high, and this needs to be cooked at least under 4 whistles or till the dal is nice and mushy. Let's move this aside. Let this continue to boil and bubble. And on this flame, let's start making jeera rice. Very simple and very flavorful. Again, what's important in a jeera rice recipe is the rice itself needs to be flavored. Of course, we're going to add in multiple other flavors. We're going to flavor this with cumin seeds and bay leaf to begin with. Of course, it also has ghee. But what is important is to choose a variety which already is flavorful. Well, for this recipe, I personally am using kokum because this is a rice variety that's generally used in my house. Of course, when there are guests, we serve them basmati, but kokum is just perfect. What you need to do is wash this again at least twice, thrice over till the cloudy water kind of drains off. And then you need to soak this rice for 20 minutes in warm water. Let's begin with the first thing, and that is adding in desi ghee. Once the ghee kind of just begins to heat up, we're going to add in cumin seeds, lots of it, because the primary flavor of this recipe is jeera, because it's jeera rice, lots of cumin. Allow it to kind of splutter. Once that happens, and only once that happens, we're going to add in bay leaves. To this, I'm also going to add in the rice at this stage, which is been soaking for the last 20 minutes. What's important while making a recipe like jeera rice is frying the rice at this stage. What I'm doing is on high flame, of course in hot ghee and jeera and bay leaf, you just have to kind of stir fry it so that the water just kind of begins to evaporate, and that's what you're looking at. You will realize that the rice also starts sticking at the bottom. That's when you lower the flame and add in water. Now this is water at room temperature. What I had taken as measurement is 1 cup of rice. So I'm using 2 cups of water. Of course, a little more, little less is subjective, but 2 cups is ideal. At this stage, I'm also going to add in a teaspoon of salt. What's important in this recipe is getting the quantity of salt correct, because that is going to be the base flavor for the rice. A teaspoon should be perfect, but again, as per your own discretion, you can add it, you can reduce it. That's completely personal. With this, you need to increase the flame and ensure that the water is roll boiling, which is very, very, very important at this stage because that will ensure that the rice cooks just perfectly. Once the water evaporates on top, which I will show you when and how, that's the only time when you cover it, lower the flame and continue cooking. Well, that brings us to the fourth whistle. And with this, of course, the flame. Allow the steam to settle completely. The pressure needs to subside, and once that happens, we'll open and have a check. Well, every household in India has their own peculiar recipe for a basic dal chawal, and that's actually the beauty of living in a wonderful agrarian country like India. Well, dal, chawal, whole wheat roti, sabzi, raita, papad, pickle, chutney, that's just a complete meal, and this one is also a meal in itself. If you can just throw in some vegetables, that's just complete. Once the water evaporates completely, you need to cover this, lower the flame, and allow this to cook in its own steam, which is also called dum cooking, for 12 minutes. With this, our jeera rice is done and ready. Of course, the flame, and you do not need to open this because the steam actually needs to settle so that the rice kind of becomes nice and fluffy. The next is to open the pressure pan and have a look because the dal has also settled by now. Well, the dal is just perfect. Now, if you need to kind of whisk this and break the lentils, you can do that. I know a lot of them who like eating lentils nice and like these, but I'm not the one to like this. So I am just kind of whisking it and making it a little smoother because that's how I personally like it. Whisk this nicely till it's smooth or till the consistency or texture that you desire. Keep this aside and remember the fact that the dal has salt and haldi already. Let's begin with the tempering or the tadka. On high flame, the first thing that goes in is ghee, of course. You can do this with, of course, oil as well or a mixture of oil and ghee. But to me, dal is just ghee. Once the ghee heats up, the first thing that goes in is mustard seeds, and I generally use black mustard. Once this begins to splutter, I'm going to add in cumin seeds. To this, I'm going to add in asafoetida or hing, and this is extremely important because this will aid digestion. To this, I'm going to add in curry leaves, washed, wiped, however you like. Just break them, snip them off. And with this, I'm also going to add in green chilies along with cloves of garlic. Just mash them. Well, if you're doing this for the first time, don't get over adventurous, don't get super excited. Easy. Allow this to splutter. To this, let's flavor this. Of course, you've added turmeric before, but I'm just going to add in a little in the tadka, and just little, not too much. And along with this, I'm going to add in red chili powder. Well, this is the tikha variety or the spicy variety. You don't need a lot of color because this dal is predominantly going to be yellow in color. Once this is nice and hot, I'm going to add in the mashed dal. Well, dal is supposed to sound good. Of course, it has to taste good, it has to look good, but the tempering has to sound good, and that's very important when you get the tadka right. To this, let's lower the flame and add in some tomatoes. Well, this is optional, but I love tomatoes in my dal, and especially when I travel and come back home after those months of masterclasses and workshops and travel and things like that, my heart craves for a good dal chawal, and this is my absolute comfort food. Let's add in tomatoes, and along with this, I'm also going to add in coriander. Well, coriander leaves is another weakness of mine. Let's add in that as well. Let's be generous with coriander. One quick stir, and again, the consistency of the dal is something that you can decide personally depending on your preference or your family preference. If you like it nice and thick, this is just perfect for you. All you need to do is check for salt, and that's just there. Finally, a quick few boils, and your dal is done and ready. And now if you see, It's wholesome because you have jeera rice, you have dal. What else do you need? Maybe some poppadoms? Maybe, I don't know. With this, off goes the flame, and this straight goes on the dinner table. Do not wait for anything. This on the dinner table. With this, your dal chawal is done and ready, and this is not regular chawal, it's jeera rice. Well, all you need now is some achar and papad, and with this, the love story of dal chawal is complete.
Knowing how to make soft round rotis is expected from most Indian women after they get married. However, with a few tips and tricks and a little bit of practice, this task can become a lot more easy. In a bowl, I'm going to take 1 cup of wheat flour, which will make around 6 rotis. In that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of oil and a pinch of salt. To this, I'm going to add some water. Don't add a lot in one go. 1 cup of wheat flour might just need around half a cup of water, so add it slowly as in when you need. Knead the dough well. Knead it for at least 2 to 3 minutes. The dough is nice and soft. Keep it to rest for at least 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to wet my palm and just on the surface of the dough, dab it with a little bit of water. This will keep the dough moist for another 15 minutes and won't let it dry out. More the resting time, the softer the rotis. And if you have some leftover dough, you can always refrigerate it, but make sure you cover it. The dough is nicely rested. Just knead it once again. Take a small ball. Rotate the dough in between your palms. And once you see a round ball being formed, flatten it out a little bit. Roll the portion of dough in the dry wheat flour. Dust the board with a little bit of dry wheat flour. And now I'm going to start rolling the roti. A few strokes in one direction, turn it around. A few strokes in the other direction. And now start rolling this. Light hands, make sure the roti is rotating on the board. That's how it gets its round shape. If you feel the roti is sticking on your rolling pin or the board, dust a little more wheat flour. Try and use minimum amount of wheat flour to roll the roti because that tends to make it a little dry. Roll the edges a little bit. This is the thickness of the roti that I need. And now onto the pan. Make sure the pan is nice and hot and let it cook for 10 to 15 seconds on one side on low flame. Once you see these light bubbles forming, flip it over and increase the flame. So one side on low flame and one side on medium flame. Once you see a few of these brown spots being formed, I'm going to cook it onto the flame. Place the roti on high flame and it's done. Remove it onto a cloth. A few tips to remember before I end. 1. Add a dash of milk in the dough. This helps in keeping the roti softer for a longer time. 2. If your dough is way too soft, add a little extra wheat flour. 3. If you wish to apply a little bit of ghee, apply it while the rotis are hot. And 4. Keep them wrapped in a dry cloth if there's time to serve. Hope this video helps you. Do leave your comments below. See you next time. Bye-bye. Winter's here and the market is full of fresh winter veggies, and honestly I can't resist to cook them. So today I'm going to be using peas and red carrots and show you my take on Gajar Matar ki Sabzi. Hi guys, this is Ruchi Varun and welcome to Rajshri Food, your ultimate destination for 100% vegetarian recipes. Red carrots that I've already peeled, washed, and now let's just chop them. So dice them up into square pieces. Just like half-inch pieces. I'm also going to be using another ingredient which is synonymous to winter, which is green garlic. Normally it's not used in this recipe, but I like to use it. It tastes really nice and adds a different flavor to the recipe. If it's not available or it's not the season for green garlic, then just omit it. So finely chop this. Also take the greens. Put this in a bowl. Now let's start cooking. Heat up 1.5 tablespoons of oil. Once the oil is nice and hot, into this I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds, 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, 1/4 teaspoon of asafoetida. Once this starts spluttering, into this I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of ginger paste. Give it a stir. Into this, next I'm going to add in 1.5 cup of green peas. Mix it well. Cook the peas for a minute. Into this, next I'm going to add in 4 carrots that I've diced. I'm sure you can tell the color looks so awesome. A little bit of salt and the green garlic. Reduce the flame, cover it and let this cook for a minute. 1 minute is up. Let's open it, give it a mix. You can come to know the freshness of the vegetables by the amount of time it takes to cook. When they're really fresh and seasonal, they're barely going to take any time to cook. Into this, now I'm going to add in 1 tomato finely chopped, and I've also peeled the tomato before chopping. So let's add it in. Mix it well. Also, I don't feel the need to add any water for it to cook, but if you think that it's going to stick to the pan, then just add like around 2 tablespoons of water for the vegetables to cook. Let's cover it and let this cook till the vegetables are done. So in India, it's a part of our culture to basically store peas for the rest of the year. People actually buy peas in kilos and parboil them and store it in the freezer for the rest of the year. There's also another story that I would like to share is that I have a friend who's from Rajasthan. So when it's the pea season, they buy peas in kilos, they peel it up and then they pass it through a sieve. Like as if you're, sieving pearls, and they collect the same size of peas and then they use that to make vegetables like these and stuff because they have to look the exact same size. And the rest of the small uneven sizes, they just use it where they need to grind it or, make gugras, matar gugras or something out of it. So you can imagine how people are so particular about the food that they eat in India. So around 4-5 minutes are up. Let's open it and check it. This seems to be done actually. And now into this, I'm going to add in all the dry spices. So there's red chili powder, so around 1/4 teaspoon. Garam masala, just a small pinch, not too much. Coriander and cumin seed powder, 3/4 teaspoon. Haldi powder, again just a small pinch. 2 green chilies finely chopped. You know the trick to make a good recipe, it all depends on the proportion of the spices that you're adding in. So in vegetables like these, when you want to bring out the natural flavor, you should add very little spices. Don't, add too much of garam masala or any of the other spices and all, so that you can actually taste the vegetable and not just the garam masala or the dhana zeera powder or whatever. So this is done. And now I'm just going to add in a little bit of coriander leaves. This is ready. Let's turn off the flame. Time to plate. This season, definitely give this Gajar Matar Sabzi a try. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Today I'm going to show you a very plain and simple basic recipe of plain paratha, which is consumed in every household on a regular basis. So let's see how. For the dough, I've taken 1 cup of wheat flour. You can make around 4 to 5 parathas with this. Into this, I'm going to add some salt and 2 tablespoons of oil. Give this a mix. And now let's start mixing the water to make the dough. Knead the dough nicely while mixing only. The dough is ready, and now I'm going to leave it for 10 minutes to rest. So 10 minutes are up, and now let's start rolling the parathas. So take a big portion of the dough and make a ball. Dust a little bit of dry wheat flour over the dough and the board. And now let's start rolling it. Roll it into a small round, and over this now I'm going to brush a little bit of oil. Also sprinkle a little bit of wheat flour. Let's fold it into half, and then once again fold it into half, and we have a triangle shape. Dust this again into the dry wheat flour, and let's roll it again. So we have a nice triangle shaped paratha here. Parathas are like about 2 mm thick, and they are a bit thicker than the rotis. So time to roast them now, and onto a hot pan and cook this on medium flame. Let it cook on each side for about 20 seconds. Flip it over and apply a little bit of oil. And flip it again. Press slightly and cook it. Apply a little bit of oil on the other side as well. And cook it till you get nice brown spots. This is done. Let's get it out. Let's make a few more. So the parathas are done. This is the last one. Let's get it out. You could also add a teaspoon of jeera or ajwain in the dough and they taste delicious. These go very, very well with any curries, dal, vegetables, curd or just a simple raita. But they taste even more delicious just by themselves as well. So do try this at home, comment below and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, this in front of me is a pressure cooker. Well, some of you of course know this, but I know for a fact that some of you are also scared of using this in the kitchen. Well, today I'm going to explain to you how to use a cooker, ताकि cooker की सीटी आपकी सीटी ना बजा दे. Well, the recipe that I'm going to show you today is Rajma Khichdi using a pressure cooker. Hey guys, it's me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Rajshri Food. Let's begin. But before starting the recipe, let me explain to you what this pressure cooker is all about. I know it looks very intimidating, but it's possibly one of the most used appliances across the world. It comes in various sizes, it comes in various shapes. You get it like a pot, you get it like a pan, you get it like a vessel, different shapes like I said. Well, this one is a cylindrical vessel shape. You also get a pot-like, which is known as a matka cooker, which actually looks like a pot. You also get a shallower vessel, which is called the pressure pan. Now, you get this in varying sizes. It starts all the way from 1.5 liters and goes right up to 9.5 in a domestic kitchen. And otherwise, it also goes up to 25 to 100 liters depending on if it's an industrial kitchen. Now, this appliance primarily has two parts. The first one is the lid and the second one is the base vessel. Now, if you come a little closer and see the different parts, this one is the lid handle. This one is the body handle. The one right at the back is the helper handle. Now, absolute logic. When you pick it like that, you can't just pick it like this. You have to give it a little bit of helping hand. So this one becomes your helping handle. Makes it clear? Now, if you open the lid has almost 3-4 parts, apart from the handle, of course. This is primarily the lid. Then you have these two valves here. Now, these are regulatory valves. The first one is the locking valve. The second one is the overpressure valve. Now, if you see, whenever you cook, there's some amount of water or liquid that actually emits from here. That is if the pressure has overridden. That's the case when this actually starts jumping. This one that we call the whistle is actually the pressure regulator internationally. And this one is the vent pipe. So this is where the steam vents out from, and then you put the pressure regulator, and that's what we call the whistle. Right at the back, you have this ring, which is actually the sealing ring. When I say sealing, it actually seals in or locks in the pressure. This is very important. Now, if you see the back side of the lid, it's designed very peculiarly. Some places it is bent inwards and some places it is actually standing. Now, this is very important in creating a locking mechanism. It literally gets locked. At any given point in time, if at all the lid by any chance falls on the floor or gets a dent, this needs to go out of your home because this will not get repaired. There will be no serviceman who will ever be able to repair this. If someone tells you that, don't get it done. Just replace the pressure cooker. This ring is made of rubber. The shelf life generally is 3 months, but again primarily depends on how you use this. If you clean it well, because there are these little contours which could get dirty, if those are left like that, then chances are that this may deteriorate faster. Another thing that you may notice here, and you must remember all these things because this is very important, especially while using a pressure cooker, it should not have dents anywhere. So whenever you get a new appliance, always ensure that you check it from the outside, you check the handle. This all comes separate. This all needs to be actually plugged in using a screwdriver. So all these parts have to actually be attached, and that's where you get this entire appliance which is done and ready. So now that you kind of understand how the pressure cooker works, let's actually put it to use. Let's keep the lid aside, and if you talk about the bottom has to be tougher, it has to be thicker so that it can take the kind of pressure that the pressure cooker is built for. First things first, let's heat this on medium flame, and to this let's add in ghee, because what are we making? Rajma Khichdi. So let's begin. a generous dollop of desi ghee. While the ghee is getting heated, let's quickly slice few onions. Onions are sliced and ready, and the ghee has also heated up. Let's add in some whole spices, beginning with bay leaves, along with cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, and black peppercorn. To this, I'm also adding in the sliced onions. Let's stir this well and allow this to turn golden brown in color. It's also important to note that if you're using root vegetables and you're building it up gradually, suppose you have potatoes, carrots, pumpkin, and spinach, randomly conversation's sake, you always begin with the toughest root vegetable, in this case, carrots, then potatoes, and then gradually go softer, and then right towards the end, add in the leafy vegetables. So that's how you actually build a pot of assorted vegetables. Now, in case you're doing only potatoes, then do only potatoes. What is important here to note is how much water to add. It's always important to only fill the cooker till it's 2/3. Now, if you understand math, it's 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. So 2 parts right at the bottom, which is 1/3 plus 1/3, makes it 2/3. So the cooker at any given point in time should be only 2/3 filled, so that there is enough room for the pressure to build. And that's where you start cooking under pressure. Now, these are these little things that are very important to note. Coming back to the onions. To hasten this process of caramelizing, like I always do, let's add in some salt. Once the onions have turned golden brown, the next step is to add in paste of ginger, garlic, and green chili. Along with this, I'm also going to add in some dry spices, beginning with red chili powder. Again, depending on how spicy you personally prefer this to be. Coriander seeds powder, cumin seed powder, along with turmeric powder. Let's give this a quick stir. And while the spices are also now getting cooked, let's quickly slice some tomatoes. I'm slicing them nice and thick so that these don't kind of disintegrate while getting pressure cooked. They will still remain nice and chunky even after getting cooked. Let's add all of this straight in. And along with this, rice which is soaking for the last 20 minutes. Well, for this khichdi, personally and specifically, I like using short grain rice and not a long grain variety or basmati, because I personally feel this tastes wonderful like that. Time to add in the star ingredient, and that is Rajma. Well, Rajma is known as kidney beans, and you get it of different varieties across the landscape of India. Different sizes, similar shapes, but different colors, primarily very, very important. And it ranges from the smallest of Rajma to the largest of Rajma that you've ever seen. Now, this is pressure cooked with just a little bit of salt. Legends say that you never add in salt in Rajma, but I personally, through my experience, say that a little bit of salt in Rajma really works well. You pressure cook this in 4 times of water, and then you add it here. Now, Rajma, again, depending on the size, may take hours to cook or minutes to cook. Now, this is a personal call. If you think this is really stretching it too far in terms of your time, just use canned beans. Simple. Let's add this in with the water in which the Rajma has been cooked. Oh, by the way, this one is Kashmiri Rajma that I picked up from one of my travels across Kashmir. Let's stir this well. Now, this recipe is going to require some more water, because now if you notice, I've added Rajma, I've added rice, and I've added the Rajma stock. The Rajma stock is according to the measurements of the Rajma in this recipe, but we still need some more water for the rice. So for 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of stock or water. Some more salt as per taste. Remember, you've added salt before while cooking the rajma as well as while cooking the onions. Finally, I'm going to add in half the quantity of coriander leaves because I personally feel rajma and coriander pairs very well. One last final stir and time to put in the lid for cooking. Press this and lock it back. Now, this needs to cook for 3 vessels, or if you're the ones who likes to cook it on low flame, then just keep it for 20 to 25 minutes and your khichdi will be perfect. Once this is cooked and ready, or once the 3 whistles subside, you will only open it after that. The whistle has to subside. Very important, so that the pressure just comes back to normal, and that's when you release it. Now, all through the lockdown, there were so many recipes that were floating around. There were cakes that were cooked in pressure cooker. Well, I remember for a fact when I was studying, when I was staying in a hostel, we used to cook a lot of recipes using a pressure cooker. And I also know for a fact that a lot of students that traveled internationally, Indian mothers really source for these little compact pressure cookers all through the market and ensure that they put it in the handbag. Anyway, all that aside, now this is going to take 3 whistles under pressure, medium flame. With this, off goes the flame, and this needs to subside, which will take at least 15 to 20 minutes. It's important to wait till then. When you lift the pressure regulator or the whistle, as we all know, there has to be no pressure, and that's what I mean by pressure has subsided well. Let's lift this very carefully, opening it against your face, not this way, otherwise all the steam will scald you. The next is to give it one mix to ensure that all the flavors wonderfully mix together. Now this straight goes on the dinner table. And finally, some more coriander. Because remember what I said? Coriander and rajma, match made in heaven. If you want more such how to use kitchen equipment videos, do let us know in the comment section below. Anyway, make this Rajma Khichdi for your family, and now there's no need to be scared of this cooker. Bye for now.